The anime begins in a high school where a big-muscled jock, Taiju Oki, decides to confess his long-held love for his friend, Yuzuriha. He musters up the courage and confronts her. But before he could say a word, a dazzling light suddenly covered the sky, causing humans to petrify mysteriously. Millennia pass by, and after 3,700 years, Taiju somehow manages to free himself from the stone prison, most probably by his yearnings to express his love for Yuzuriha and the dripping bat guano in the cave. While wandering around, Taiju runs into an old friend, Senku Ishigami, a science whiz who was freed 6 months ago. The boy's dyad decides to play the roles of Adam and Eve in rebuilding civilization. Senku uses his skills to develop a fluid out of bat guano to depetrify people, while Taiju takes care of the manpower. After 6 months, they finally crack the formula for revival fluid, which efficiently depetrifies a bird. Now that they've cracked the formula, Senku and Taiju opt to resurrect someone and pick Yuzuriha first at Taiju's behest. But before they can do so, lions attack them. Knowing that victory is far from certain, they resurrect Tsukasa Shishio, a mighty man formerly dubbed the strongest primate high schooler. Tsukasa, awakened, quickly grasps the situation and knocks out the lions in the nick of time. Tsukasa, the strongest of the three, now takes care of the labor. But as he smashes a stone-clad man, Senku grows dubious of his intentions. So, he confronts him on the beach, and Tsukasa's logic is straightforward: corrupted old men are harmful to the new civilization. But Senku is adamant about bringing back every single person who has become encased in stone. Now, Senku sees Tsukasa as a threat and wants to keep the discovery of revival fluid a secret, but Taiju unwittingly spills the beans. So, Senku concocts a new plan and asks Tsukasa to fetch them some fluid from the cave. Tsukasa agrees to go since he is inquisitive. It buys the duo some time to revive Yuzuriha, but not much, as Tsukasa, now sworn to purify the stone world of grown-ups, soon confronts them. Taiju and Senku fight back and attempt to sway Tsukasa to abandon his plan, but he refuses. Since fighting Tsukasa in melee is suicide at best, the boys dyad and newly revived Yuzuriha travel to Hakone to produce gunpowder, the only way to beat Tsukasa. However, Tsukasa, proving to be nobody's fool, soon comprehends their intentions and starts pursuing them to stop. The trio gets to Mount Hakone and successfully concocts gunpowder using sulfur. However, this generates a little explosion, culminating in a smoke pillar in the air. The smoke acts as a double-edged sword. On the one hand, another smoke pillar emerges from the forest, notifying the trio of the humans' presence. On the nay side, Tsukasa quickly chases them down and takes Yuzuriha hostage. He demands that Senku give him the revival fluid formula, which Senku complies with to rescue Yuzuriha. But when Tsukasa orders him to abandon science or die, Senku gladly chooses the latter. At this, Tsukasa reluctantly strikes Senku with a fatal blow since he sees him as a danger to his goals. Taiju grows outraged and uses gunpowder to set off an explosion, knocking Tsukasa out. Taiju and Yuzuriha escape the scene, carrying Senku's body. The two then ponder how to resuscitate Senku since they believe he would not have given up so quickly. At that moment, they see a chunk of stone on his neck and pour the revival fluid over him, hoping it may cure his wounds. But, before we can see the effects, we're flung back in time to Senku's awakening after 3,700 years and figuring out how to live in the Stone Age. He also uncovers Taiju's statue and attempts to revive him using bat guano, but quickly realizes another ingredient is required, in Taiju's case, his yearning to see Yuzuriha. In the present, the revival fluid resurrects Senku, and we learn that depetrifying can repair body wounds. After waking up, Senku plans to split up with Taiju and Yuzuriha to keep the illusion of his death alive for Tsukasa. He instructs the two to infiltrate Tsukasa's empire while he searches for potential survivors. He aims to create the kingdom of science to defeat Tsukasa. Elsewhere, Tsukasa is ambushed by Kohaku, a girl who witnessed him murder Senku. Despite her fighting abilities, Tsukasa quickly subdues her and traps her under a tree. Then he races to the cave, his first aim being to secure the revival fluid. Senku sees the smoke cloud from afar and arrives to find Kohaku trapped. He saves her by using a pulley system to pull the tree. Smitten by Senku's talents, she refers to him as a sorcerer. Kohaku then brings him to her 40-person village, where his talents could be put to good use. The village, however, is hostile to newcomers, and the guards, Kenro and Jinro, prevent him from entering. Meanwhile, Chrome, a self-proclaimed genius sorcerer, arrives. He challenges Senku to a sorcery duel. As the battle begins, Senku mocks Chrome's so-called powers, yet, He grows to like Chrome owing to his unrefined wisdom. Obviously, he doesn't have access to information like Senku had. Senku, impressed, takes him under his wing, and the two become an unstoppable combo. Chrome reveals to Senku that he is learning sorcery in order to save Ruri, the village's priestess, who is dying of an unknown disease. Ruri is Kohaku's older sister. Hearing this, Senku unveils technological progress humans made 3,700 years before and vows to develop an antibiotic to heal Ruri. Forthwith, Senku teams up with Kohaku and Chrome to reinvent the antibiotic, the sulfa drug, which can be created with a high degree of certainty but needs a substantial portion of labor compared to the improbable penicillin. They get to work collecting iron sand from the riverbed when Suika, a strange watermelon-wearing girl, shows up. She expresses an interest in assisting, and they put her to work. But when it comes to burning iron sand, they run short of manpower. Senku proposes creating bait to rope in folks to help. Suika chooses to eavesdrop on the villagers' talk by hiding in a watermelon. She soon learns that they are in need of better food, so our science genius cooks foxtail ramen and sets up a food booth on the outskirts of the village. The ramen's aroma lures the villagers, and they consume it to their heart's content, though Senku, who has tasted real ramen, finds this one bland. Gen Asagiri is soon introduced, a wannabe magician from Senku's period who has been depetrified and recruited by Tsukasa to bring word of Senku's proven death. But Gen chooses to switch sides since he believes Senku's side is more robust. Senku has been successful in making iron rods, and a sudden thunderstorm aids in creating a powerful magnet, much to their delight. He built a power generator using the magnets run by the patrol's tandem, Kinro, and Jinro. All of this culminates in the creation of a light bulb, which, 3,700 years later, illuminates the darkness. That night, Gen is outside alone, musing about his depetrification. Suddenly, he is assaulted to death by some brutes. However, thanks to his blood bags, he narrowly escapes death. Suika morphs into a melon to track down the perpetrators, who turn out to be Magma and his ilk. Magma's real motive is to win the grand bout, which will enable him to marry Ruri and seize control of the village, but Kohaku had defeated him in the last tournament, knowing his intentions. Later, a bruised Gen has a quiet conversation with Senku and disappears the next morning. He straight up goes to Tsukasa and gives him the report that Senku is dead. In fact, Senku bribed him to give the bogus report by promising to invent a chilled Coca-Cola for him. To save Ruri, Kohaku starts to train Jinro and Kinro for the tournament. Meanwhile, Senku is working on his plan to develop a cure-all drug. Soon after, he discovers that Suika suffers from bad eyes, which the villagers call fuzzy sickness. Senku swiftly prepares a transparent lens glass and slips it into her watermelon. It allows Suika to see clearly for the first time. Then, Senku's squad abducts Keisuke, an old craftsman, to make flawless glass equipment for his lab when Senku fails to give them shapes. And wisely, they prod the hesitant artisan to build flawless instruments. Senku's lab is soon set up, filled with glass instruments. Jinro then requests a silver spear, which Senku crafts for him. However, he must pay the price by becoming the team's bodyguard and embarking on a risky expedition to gather sulfuric acid for the cure-all drug. Not to add, the silver spear serves as a navigator, indicating the presence of hazardous gas. They set out on the mission wearing gas masks. But, before they depart, Senku asks Chrome to stay away since, if he dies on the journey, someone would have to pass on his scientific knowledge. But Chrome dismisses him and decides to follow him on his mission. They arrive near the acidic lake to get acid. Suddenly, Chrome slips, putting himself on his way to a terrible drop. Thankfully, Jinro saves him with his spear and the three retreat with the requisite sulfuric acid. Chrome and Senku continue working on the sulfa antibiotic using the chemicals they've gathered and built so far. The final element, however, is still missing: alcohol. In the meantime, Senku, Chrome, Kohaku, and the patrol's duo sign up for the grand bout to beat Magma. Another good reason to attend is that the tournament winner will receive a large amount of booze. In the first matchup, Senku's top fighter, Kinro, combats Magma, the Senku team's worst luck. They do, however, have Kohaku as a backup. The combat begins, and Magma is having little success until he detects Kinro's poor vision. He creates some space between them and gains the upper hand. Suika comes shortly after, and swiftly identifies Kinro's flaw. She hurls her melon-made glasses at him, allowing Kinro to see clearly. After this, Magma is unable to withstand Kinro's attacks and gaslights him, causing Kinro to look away and Magma to attack him. When it comes to Kohaku, she is left to save a drowning Suika, after being misreported by Magma's agent. So she's out, and the following round pits Chrome versus Magma. While being thrashed by Magma, Chrome flexes his brain muscles. He uses Suika's shattered glass in a science trick to fire Magma by converging sunlight. Fortunately, Jen buys Chrome enough time by tricking Magma with his magic trick. As a result, Chrome takes the victory by knocking Magma off the mountain. Subsequently, Senku wins over Kenro. Senku and Chrome are in the last round, and Senku intends to lose on purpose since he knows Chrome is attracted to Ruri. Unexpectedly, Senku is awarded the winner after Chrome collapses from weariness from the previous bout. So, Senku takes credit and marries Ruri, only to divorce her soon after obtaining alcohol. He starts working on sulfa medicine and succeeds after a series of steps that I am not interested in discussing. Ruri recovers from pneumonia after getting multiple doses. The villagers, impressed, place Senku in leadership, and he learns the village name, Ishigami, which is Senku's surname. Ruri approaches a perplexed Senku, telling him that she has known him since she was a lass. Not to add that Jen gets his cola. Ruri begins narrating the 100th story from the priestess's collection of 100 stories. She discloses that Senku's father, Byakuya Ishigami, an astronaut, and 5 others survived the apocalypse since they were in space at the time. The only 6 survivors land on Earth and form a new civilization, but they quickly begin to succumb since pneumonia does not pity anybody. Byakuya resolves to compose 100 stories in the hopes of passing them down through the generations and having Senku read them. Ruri then leads him to the cemetery where his forebears are interred. Not soon enough, Senku learns about Tsukasa impending attack from General. Suddenly, Tsukasa's right-hand man, Hyoga, attacks the villagers with his army. Senku smartly concocts a ruse that they have firearm technology, luring the enemies away. They attack again when it rains, as moisture renders the gunpowder useless. However, Senku has already invented considerably more powerful weapons, katana swords, which drive the army away once more. But Hyoga is stubborn, and he makes a third attack. He fights the villagers until his peculiar spear, Kudiari, breaks, bringing him to defeat. But there is another twist in the plan. Tsukasa has dispatched Homura, an athletic and acrobatic girl who swims to the village and silently lights it on fire. She then moves in to defend Hyoga and make sure he can safely flee. The villagers make it to Senku's workshop safely, and Suika is used as bait to lure the enemies to the deadly gas lake. The gas is picked up by the wind, so Kohaku puts a gas mask on Suika and whisks her away. Homura and Hyoga likewise dodge the suffocating breeze by climbing to the top of the tree and then retreating. Shortly after this ruckus, Senku proposes to invent mobile phones to defeat the enemies, a further stride in the realm of technology. Thereafter, a lengthy and winding process of mobile innovation begins, which I am not interested in detailing in any depth, save for the cotton candy machine that turns gold into threads. They test it by making cotton candy, which Senku leaves for Homura, who he knows is spying on them. Surprisingly, Chrome displays his latest creation, a water wheel. Senku is astounded to see how it can give the dwindling electricity. Indeed, they have entered the realm of energy owing to Chrome. Senku plugs the water wheel into the furnace, creating electric light bulbs. He starts hanging the newly invented bulbs from a tall tree on the town's edge. The tree is fully lit up on the first frost, when everyone enjoys the Christmas illuminations. Subsequently, Senku's futile attempts to build ideal vacuum tubes act like a grain of salt. He, desperate, walks to the New Year's sunrise with his buddies to clear his head. Naturally, Suika shows Senku a scheelite rock that Chrome discovered while crave raiding. Okay, for those who are unaware of scheelite, let me share my knowledge. It is a rock that contains tungsten, making it ideal for the construction of vacuum tubes. The answer to Senku's question has been uncovered, and it's now time for a cave expedition. To everyone's shock, Senku picks Magma and Chrome to accompany him on his cave adventure. They explore a cave and soon find themselves in a perilous place that is prone to breaking apart. Magma punches Senku, apparently harming him, but he is actually attempting to prevent him from falling. At the same time, they both fall into a hole. Chrome helps them to be pulled from the hole. Magma pulls Senku, who is hypothermic, and the two share a bro moment, acknowledging their roles in the village's progress. Thankfully, they come across a skarn deposit and gather a large amount of tungsten before returning to the village. Senku goes to the village to find that the locals have made him a telescope for his birthday. He is awestruck, and Jen was the one who came up with the idea. He has grown fond of Senku. Then, Senku and the villagers collaborate to create a brand new mobile phone. Chrome comes up with novel ways to heat the tungsten to form vacuum tubes, while Keisuke shapes them. Senku is in charge of all lab work, and after some real hard work, the first phone is invented. After this, Senku plays naive, pretending to forget to explain that they would need another phone to test it, which spoils the villagers' excitement. However, Senku cheers them up by telling them that they can still test it by running a cable from the village to a shed, similar to a landline. Chrome is the first to use it, ostensibly to confess his feelings to Ruri, but in reality to talk about how amazing science is. Concurrently, Ruri points out one of the 100 stories related to the word speaker, leading Senku to his father's tombstone, where he discovers a glass record disc. Senku, on the other hand, doesn't have a record player, but that's okay because he invents one right away. Then he plays the recording, and Byakuya talks about his brilliant son being the one to find it. Then he plays a song by Lillian that is so lovely and emotional that it inspires Senku to bring back modern entertainment. However, they must first prepare for Tsukasa's arrival. Then we see Yuzuriha and Taiju, the season's least interesting characters, waiting for a word from Senku. The season comes to a close there. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the notifications if you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.